Hey, welcome back to another episode of YOML, a year of magical learning. We are on episode 55 today, and today's book is Lion by Sam Harris. So
Yeah,
take it away, Chris.
yeah, for sure. So first off, have you guys ever A, read this book, or B, are you guys familiar with Sam Harris?
I know Sam Harris. I have not read the book.
Gotcha. Snow?
Likewise, I know Sam Harris. I read End of All Faith. I've listened to some of his stuff. I think he's brilliant. I think he's stubborn, but I think he's an interesting person to listen to.
Nice. Awesome. So I have my fun story before we kick this whole thing off. So this book's about it's about lying. It's about his it's like a long form essay book that he wrote about lying, basically. Like when is it appropriate, when is it not appropriate, what is lying, what is not, I thought it was an interesting concept just to dive into. And on a side note, oddly enough, I'd heard the name Sam Harris a few times before in my journey. I know True's recommended him a few times, and I've heard similar stories from people like you, Snow, where you're like, yeah, I've heard this guy. He seems like he's really smart. He knows what he's talking about. So I actually read another one of Sam Harris's books. I don't know, maybe a year ago. It's called Waking Up, and I didn't really love it at all. As a matter of fact, there's only two books that I've ever consumed on this journey thus far that I declined to write a reflection on, and that was one of them. So I felt like, actually, this is kind of actually the beginning of my reflection. Honestly, was I felt kind of bad because, like, everybody's voice matters, and I want to, be like, I like a whole part of this journey is not to, like, it's not about what I'm learning or who I'm learning it from or anything like that. It's just about learning, right? So I don't mind going on this journey with somebody. So I thought I'd give them another shot, and see what I thought here. So that was why I actually ended up picking up this book. I think I saw it like recommended by like Elon Musk or something like that, like one of those like lists or whatever, people that thought it would be like a really good book to read. So I said, hey, what the hell, I'll give it another shot. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Let me know when you guys can see this. New computer, crap. So it's I gotta allow Zoom to share my screen. True, do you have it up real fast? Because I can't share my screen right now.
How about that?
Yeah.
There we go. Perfect. So like, as I mentioned, the reflection title is "The Only Person you should never deceive is yourself." And the first part of the reflection was about the whole Sam Harris book thing, and like, I've just heard so many good things about the guy, and don't get me wrong, like, I think he's really smart. I think he has a lot of great things to say. For whatever weird reason, it just hasn't been resonating well with me. And that's okay. But like, this whole journey is about learning in general. So the thing that sparked my curiosity when I was listening to this one, did this one as an audiobook, was True and I have talked a lot about this, about the concept of radical candor. Is that something you're familiar with, Snow? Have you ever heard?
No.
So there's like this, it's not really a business thing, but it's just like it's becoming just a trending topic and philosophy of people.
It sounds
like,
good.
It's of radical candor, right? Of always being honest and speaking the truth, and however you feel, like, to make
be
sure you
vulnerable, put yourself out there, stick your neck out there. People won't chop it off. It's one of those things that that's what you believe.
Right. So it's being radically open. It's radically sharing all of your feelings, basically, is radical candor, how you feel at the moment, and advice, feedback, reflections, whatever it may be, right? Well, for my
I feel like, I was getting like, the woman had to like put a rubber band around my calf muscles, and she was like, I had to bend down, like, go towards my penis. Like, would it have been like, and part of me wanted to say, whoa, easy down there. But like, would radical candor have been like, said, whoa, easy down there?
Yeah, in some ways, yeah, it'd be like, like, if you're like in the business world, the applications these days are, you're in a meeting, your boss is giving you guys a company presentation about the state of the last quarter's results or whatever, and they're basically like, well, you know what, like, after the presentation's over, it's like, I thought you really half-assed that one today. I really thought you mailed it in. You did not really bring your bay game. And to be fair, like, I think that we all suffered because of that. Like, you know, like that would be like in the business world, like giving radical candor and feedback to people, you know what I mean? But to your point, it's basically having no filter. It's like whatever you feel, you should feel safe to say it is kind of the thing, right? So as I was listening to this book, I couldn't help but to think of the concept of radical candor and honestly how much I hate it. True and I have talked about this at length before. Anything that has radical or extreme or like, you know, whatever in the title by default is against everything that I stand for of living a balanced life. Like you cannot like it, you know, candor is great in moderation. Like, you know, extreme ownership is great in moderation. It doesn't need to be extreme ownership. It doesn't need to be radical candor. You know, you can be yourself and share these things as you go.
But Chris, I mean, that's just an adjective though, you know? I mean, you're really just like putting a subjective view on something.
For sure,
radical, you know, or extreme when it's something just is.
For sure, but the point of these things is to be over the top and how you perceive. I mean, that's the concept behind it. Is to be, it's to be like extremely radical. You know.
But I guess the thing. But also, if you're being extremely radical, then that's also kind of not being like authentic with your cadence, though. I think. You know, it's like you're trying too hard or something.
Yeah. No,
right. You're singing to the choir, you know, and that's the thing is it's not practical.
It's not balanced. Right. It's not in moderation.
Practical. It's not what you do, and you shouldn't always do it. In our opinions is that because you are not true to yourself, you just lying to people by saying I'm radical candor, and you choose when you are radical candor and when you don't. So to me, you are fake. You're a fraud in my view. So if you pretend to be a radical candor, you just say, "Hey, I'm using it for my own conveniences and nothing else."
Yeah. So you feel like it's sort of like a selfish undertones to it.
Yeah. But then you go out there and you talk to people that, "Hey, I'm this, you know, high up on this pedestal person that you should look up to me because I you know, I live the radical candor concept, whatever." To me, it's a double line to me. A double line to people. You're trying to fool me. That's how I feel when people, you know, kind of like take on this demeanor of radical candor because you can't do it. It's not practical.
That actually, we'll pivot back to this in a second because it sounds like we got a lot more to talk about with radical candor. So the book itself, like, starts talking about all these different nuances around when is lying appropriate, when is it not appropriate, when does lying situations come up, and you know, like it felt like Sam was just going through like all these different like, well, if this happens, then I feel like you should do this, and if this happens, and this scenario happens, and then I feel like this is what lying is, and this is this. I thought it was just getting way too, you know, like in the weeds of like all these different situational, you know, things and you know, the whole concept of radical candor, like True was saying. And for me, the big aha that I had at the end of this thing was to say, the only person I should never lie to is myself. And this goes back to like my values. This goes back to, you know, it like when you guys know what I'm talking about, when you have that like feeling deep in your stomach where you know that you're doing something that violates who you want to be at your core. And like that's when I know that I'm lying to myself. And when if that's what I use my core values for today, these days, is to when I get that feeling, I go and review like with my core values, like what am I violating here? Like, am I violating something here? And then that's how I decide if it's lying to me, I guess, at this point in time, because at the end of the day, like I'm the only one I can lie to, right? Like True was saying, like if I say that I'm doing radical candor, you know, like, and that's my thing, but I'm not really doing it, you know, like it's violating your own, you know, your own self, like, you know, and that's when I think it's the only time you can really ever lie to somebody or to something is to yourself. So that was.
So you're saying you can only really lie to yourself? You can't lie to others?
Yeah, I mean, because if it's like, so for instance, I'll say this. Here's how I'm thinking about this. So I added integrity to my core values list because of exactly for this reason. Like, if I'm not being, you know, living my life with integrity, and if I'm lying to myself about am I living this life that I say that I want to live? Am I doing the things that I say that I value most in this world? Am I living the mission and the purpose that I think that I really care about? If I'm doing all that stuff, then great. Then I'm not lying. Then whatever actions that I perform, I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm not doing it to be harmful to somebody. I'm doing what I'm trying to do. Can I go correct that, counteract that? Sure. But like, if I completely just disregard the things that I say that I care about, like, that's straight up just lying. Like, that's that's when I know deep down inside, when I have that feeling in my stomach where I'm like, ooh, that didn't feel good. Like this is when it's bad. So yeah.
Because you really told yourself one thing, but your actions are doing another thing.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. There's so many nuanced, things that Sam was arguing in this book. And I'm like, I'm just going to try to make it easy for myself. Like if I don't feel good about, if I feel like this is violating something that I really care about, and I say that I care about, then either I don't care about it, or B, like I'm just lying. You know what I mean? So it's something for me to think about and keep myself righted. So that's the overall reflection from this book, I guess. I'd love to get your guys' thoughts.
So what's the summary in terms of, or what is Sam Harris' perspective on lying? Do you lie or should you not lie?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think I got an answer in the whole entire book. It was basically just arguing situations of when lying was appropriate or not appropriate. Like, I don't think I got like an answer ever. I was looking for the same thing too. And I was like, I don't know that I learned anything about lying or the process of lying, but it got me thinking about the concept of lying.
Yeah. Well, it seems like to me, like, I mean, lying is, I guess, we constantly project our own avatars into the future about how we want to be. And if there is like some incongruency in that moment about how we thought the future was going to be and how we thought we were going to react, it's like there's like a lying basis there. But sometimes,
right, so I think it boils down to the definition of lying, right?
Yeah.
But
what's your definition of lying?
My definition of lying is I know better, but I choose to do something different. That's lying. Yeah. If I, for example, what's the difference between a guess and lying, right? A guess is like you don't know, and you projecting yourself to the future, and it may not come true, or it incongruent with whatever that you didn't know before. It's the act of willful. It's a willful act of doing things that you know that wasn't good for you, but you continue to anyway. Whether you smoke or you do something is against your value, that's lying. To me, that's my definition. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, but I feel like that's the thing. You never technically get away with lying. Because I think it ends up like, I find for myself, it can end up eating away at my self-esteem a little bit.
Yeah.
I lie to myself. And so that's one thing I think, like, just having this conversation that, or hearing you speak, Chris, is like something that I can work on, is like, don't lie to myself when it's like, oh, actually, I don't want that some peanuts from the vending machine, but I am gonna go over there and actually get some,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, lying, I think it's all about like incongruency. Just like thinking you're one thing and you do another, because I think it boils down to fear. And I think that's why that like radical cadence is a thing, because it's like trying to push people to like, don't be scared, So, but I think it does end up being almost like a inauthentic thing, because you're like end up like over exaggerating.
Right.
I think your cadence, because like, and I think, and everyone maybe needs to find that balance. So maybe it's like, I don't necessarily think like or I don't think radical cadence is a bad thing, because I think it could be a journey for someone to go on to find that authentic, to find their authentic self, and maybe they need to get it out. And I'm not saying like condone it, but I feel like it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's a people working out themselves, because I mean, I don't think anyone really wants to lie. Actually, it sucks to lie.
Well, I don't know. There's sometimes when you should want to lie. Like, I mean, like, let's say, that's what the book was about, right? There are situations where I don't think that lying is a bad thing. Like, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but like, I think of like, I don't know, telling somebody they just lost a family member, like, hey, this will pass. You don't fucking know what's gonna happen. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like,
but that's also like, I mean, that's just kind of like not necessarily like, I don't consider that as lying though. I just consider that as like sometimes either not knowing what to say, and yet I feel like when I say things like that, it does even feel inauthentic, because like I don't necessarily know that, so I think that is lying. And sometimes
right, because you're not violating any of your core values. I think
Right.
lying is essentially going back to, I believe this, but I do something completely different. If I don't really feel sorry for Chris, then I feel say I'm sorry, then that's lying. Just like you can tell, because a person isn't genuine, it comes across in the body language. Even though your mouth says one thing, but your body language says something else, it betrays you. And that's essentially, that's a lie, because deep down you think different than what you said.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but I think that's the
Because
thing,
but
like,
if you don't know that, what you say, because that's not going against any of the core value, because there wasn't a core value or point of reference to hold on to compare with in the first
yeah.
place.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So yeah, like I mean, you're only lying if you're like going against your values. I mean, like, because one person, let's say I don't know, me and Trio both say to the same person, "Hey, don't worry, you'll get over this." Like if Trio really feels that and like that's authentic in terms of body language and everything, like maybe that's not a lie. But like if I maybe say it, that might be a lie because I don't know. We're actually like
Yeah,
didn't feel like
maybe
that was the
maybe
appropriate
you
thing to
hated
say.
Chris and you don't care about him, and you said that. That's a lie,
Yeah,
and you
exactly.
show.
Right.
It will
Right.
show.
No.
I don't think that there's so many subtle nuances around lying, right? Like, I mean, it's about intent and does it match up with, I don't know. I mean, like it's got to align with like
So the action doesn't match
authenticity.
the intent.
Right, exactly. Like if you say that something is how you want to live your life or how you want to conduct yourself, and then you go do the exact opposite.
Yes,
Like
I
like
want to be
this is
healthy, and then I go smoke and I drink
Yeah.
to excess, and then I eat all the junk food that I can get my hands on.
Wait, you
Then
broke up for a
I'm
second.
lying to myself.
Yeah,
Because
for
I'm
sure.
lying when I say I want to be healthy.
I remember back and I went to a Catholic high school. Snow, are you still there? You look like you're cutting out a little bit. Can you hear us?
I think he's frozen.
Are you guys breaking up? Is your internet bad or is mine?
I think it's you. Yeah, your screen's frozen.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
And we're not lying.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Radical candor. Your screen is the one that's frozen. So yeah. No. So I was gonna say, like, I remember back in high school. I went to a private Catholic high school, and it was we had religion class every single day, and it was my senior year of high school, and I found out a couple of our religion teachers, they would preach one thing in our senior retreats, and they would do whatever they were really great people. Like, I mean, in theory, right? Like, I mean, they taught the right stuff, they said the right stuff, they seemed like they were great role models. And then slowly but surely we started to find out they did some stuff, in their private life that probably wasn't very, very Catholic, but they represented themselves so much so, like, as this like, this is everything kind of thing, and I wouldn't even mind what they did. Like, like that's fine. I don't have any problem if if they want to watch porn or something like that. Like, I don't care if that's what you want to do, and it doesn't violate who you say you want to be. But when you do that stuff and then you preach to other people about one way that you want to live your life, and then it is clear that you're violating something else, that's when I feel like, that person has some serious problems internally, because I know that they have to feel that conflict when they say this is what I want to be, and this is how I want to live my life, and they walk that walk every single day, and then when they're away from other people, they do something different. Like, that's just by my definition what lying is.
Yeah,
Like,
I think like I'll probably like I think everybody lies. I mean, it brings up the point, Chris. I was thinking today that I think like it's very important for teachers to be good role models, because I think mainly teachers are really modeling what good behavior is and like what a good life could be.
Yeah.
But I think teachers are the worst people to have in the classroom. I think they could be better in front of students if they were paid more. Because like, why would you want to be, let's be honest, why would you want to be a teacher when like your admin is annoying, you're only paid $40-some thousand a year, you don't have a lot of say what goes on in your school. Like, if I'm telling kids like, go live your dreams, be independent, be a boss, like in terms of like be the boss of your life,
right?
Like, I'm sort of like an awful role model, because I'm not even embodying it. So I realized that today. I'm like, God, like I'm like kind of lying to my students about like, what's what's important in life,
Yeah, I think that's a great example. I'm not saying that for yourself necessarily, but to your point, like the concept of role models, I think we all have to be role models. Like, and we have to all be role models by saying and understanding who we are, what we want to be, and living that life and representing that to other people, right? Like if you once again, if you see people that want to be like super family oriented people, but they travel for business, 90% of the time, and they're never home, and they hire nannies and everything. And I'm like, it's a lie. Like, I mean, you're a lie, like Will Smith or something like that with the whole Oscar thing. I read his entire book like 2 weeks before the Oscars. I loved it. It was a great book. I had a great message out of it. I felt really close and connected with Will Smith. I wrote a 3-part reflection for his book because I loved a lot of the message he put into it and the time and effort. And then he goes up and he does exactly the opposite of everything that he just wrote about in his entire book. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I mean, you're a liar.
Well,
like,
that's a lie.
Like,
That's a
right,
lie
yeah.
because
Like,
because the thing
right.
is a lot of time people struggles with certain things and they try to make up a story to cover for their weaknesses. And that's what they tell people that, hey, this is me. But
Right.
it's not really him or her because they are struggling to, I guess, contain the demon inside. Whatever that demon is, they try to contain it by creating another story, a perfect story to tell the world. And when we as the public consume these kind of information and then we found out it's not, then it feels like they're lying to us, they're fooling us. And to me, that's a lie. And that's a lie to the people, even though if he knew that he's writing something different so he can appear a better person, that's not lying to himself. He's just lying to the public. He's just lying to the people who's watching him, who's
Right.
supporting him.
But I mean, and this is what I always do. I always defend people in their actions. And so to kind of defend Will Smith, let's say if it's true that I don't smoke, let's say I've never smoked before. So no, I don't smoke. Then next week, I smoke. Was I a liar last week when I said I don't smoke?
No.
I wasn't a liar.
You
So I guess that's the thing I'm kind of like
if
defending.
you
like,
say
I mean,
you don't smoke today, but you smoked last week, then you lie.
then
But
I'm right,
if you
exactly.
say you don't smoke today and you smoke tomorrow in 2 minutes afterward, you're not lying because that's you haven't said anything that is.
I actually would argue completely different than that. Is health one of the things that you value most in life?
Health?
Yeah.
Yes.
Then if you did smoke in a week from now, you're probably going to go to yourself like, why the fuck am I doing? Sorry, why am I doing this? Like, what this violates what I that's all that I don't care if you smoke. Like, smoke away. Like, I mean, I don't.
Right,
I mean,
but it is a point. It's right now, the point in time right now, because you haven't smoked, you have not lied. You lie when you smoke
to yourself
because it goes against your value. So a week from now, if you smoke, then you lie then to your values. But if you tell me today you don't smoke, then you tell the truth. You're not lying.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to look at the perspective of that point in time.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Because your values can change too.
Actually, this is I was about ready to say that was about my next segue to this. This is what I've like discovered too. So there's been a few things that I've done in the past, couple years or whatever on this journey that I know deep down inside, I was like, something doesn't feel right. And I would go and look at my values and I'm like, this doesn't violate any of these things. So what is it? Like, what is it? Right. And I kept having the same feeling come up and up and up over the time. And that was when I added integrity to my, to my core values list. It was like, that's how you find a new value sometimes, of like, hey, I'm saying that this matter. I don't know why this matters, but it does matter. I could clearly feel the conflict of when I do an action and then how I feel afterwards, right? And it didn't feel good. So that was like I had to go do some digging myself to go figure out. Like, to your point, Snow. Like, I don't know. Not everybody knows everything about themselves. Like, not everybody knows. Like, and people can change.
Well,
and adapt
that's the
and grow,
thing.
and that's
Most
fine.
people
like,
don't.
Right. Right.
Not about a few, but most people don't know a lot of stuff about themselves. I mean, even Chris and I.
What's that?
I mean, we're constantly. I mean, no, you guys are right. I mean, most people don't know themselves, and we do change, but we don't change that fast.
No, I agree. Yeah.
Right. We have a when we grow up, we are being told to be something, some person, some type of character, or what to be, how to behave, who to look up to, and all that. We're being told that. No one has ever like to sit and say, okay, what do I want to be? What kind of characteristic and behavior and actions I want to be, and think about it and say, okay, this aligns with what I like, how I feel. So most people don't do that, because when you first enter the world, you are told that, hey, don't do this, don't do that, stop, no, 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 no. And that's what you assimilate. You assimilate all these characteristics from the environment into yourself, and you think that's you. And then when you get to the point where you do all these things, you should go to college, you should strive to be, the best at what you do, you should work hard, you should, get health insurance, you should get married, you should find a girl, settle down, have kids, retire, and die. That's essentially what you're told. But then at a certain point, you're gonna stop and think about, okay, is this me? But only a few percentage of people who get to that point where they hit a midlife crisis and say, why am I doing this? But that's the thing, is people don't do that until something drastically happens to them for them to ask that question. And then even after that, right, me and Chris are learning about ourselves. We know a little bit more about ourselves, but not everything. We still have to rely on each other to kind of be the sounding board to say, okay, that's me. I think I like integrity, because when I'm not being honorable, I don't feel good. Then I said, well, maybe integrity is my characteristic. I'm going to assimilate as well, and I'm going to take that and put on top of my list as a priority. Right?
Yeah.
And so for me, is even when we're changing, that's one thing, but people don't even ask. So you can't change if you don't ask the question.
You can't change if you don't ask. But I also think too, you can't change, because like Drew, I like what you said there in terms of like this path that people are on. They kind of like, we're so immersed in our culture, we'll never forget it. And we end up kind of like defining our actions based on kind of what culture told us. So sometimes people don't step back to like midlife crisis to ask like, what was I doing? But I think one thing, it can be like scary to take on values, because then you'll probably start lying.
Yeah. No, that's the best part about it too, is when you realize if it's true or not, right? Like I remember when I mean, in the book that I wrote, like I wrote about, like, before this whole journey, like I used to say things that I cared about the most were things like grit, do the things you hate the most first, like fight, like, you know what I mean? Like the shit that really doesn't matter to me, actually. Like, I mean, I said it did. I thought it said radical candor might have been on that list actually before. These were concepts that I heard, that I listened to other people say, that they tried to apply to their life, or mindfulness and things like that, right? None of these things are bad. Like if that's a value you care about, great. Like, but the thing that was, I was just inheriting other people's stuff, right? And then when it came time for me to go evaluate and guide my actions by that, like, I don't want to wake up every morning and go do the things I hate the most first. Like, I don't want to hate the shit that I do every single day. Like, I mean, that sounds stupid, like for me personally.
Yeah.
So I was like,
but in the moment when people are telling you that, well, you truly believe it and you feel like that's genuinely what you want.
Right.
But over time, it fades, because the feelings of having the whatever jubilee feeling that you have doing the things, right, it's not there anymore. It diminishes. And so that is because it wasn't yours in the first place. But if it's yours, then for me, it's like, for me to lie, it feel bad. I don't want to. I'd rather tell you straight. And I have no problem telling you, because it doesn't make me feel bad, even if I make you feel bad. You know what I mean? Because that's the way that I was genetically built. So rather than lying, I would just tell you.
You have high self-esteem.
Well, it's that icky feeling. I don't know. It's hard. I mean, I think you guys know what I'm talking. It's that icky feeling you get when you're like, something didn't feel good about what I just did there. You know what I mean? Like, and like,
Yeah.
I mean, just,
yeah.
Yeah,
imagine go up to a kid and slap him across the face.
Yeah, and you'd go home at night and you'd go,
maybe I shouldn't do that.
Here's a great example. So when I'm
Okay.
playing tennis, like these days, like, you know, when there was like a questionable line call or something like that in my past life, I was like, yeah, whatever. It was questionable. I called it out. Like it was really, really close. Maybe it was in, maybe if they did one of those, you know, line things they do in the pros or whatever, and it would like clip the back of the line. I would be like, I don't really care. These days, when I added integrity to my core values list, I would go, I sit there and I think about it. It makes me feel awful. Like I'm like, God, what's that? Is this really that important? This is about having fun. This is about being on the court. This is about enjoying the sun. Like I'm not saying that like I don't still make a mistake. Half the time these days, I want to like automatically just go, I think I made a mistake like 3 points later. I haven't done it yet, but like I want to. Like that's what I'm saying when it feels bad. Like did it matter if I called the ball out when it may have been technically in potentially or something along those lines? No, it doesn't matter, but it mattered to me and I didn't feel great about it. So that's lying to me. Like that is lying. When I think a ball was in, or I may have thought of the ball was in and I didn't do anything about it, then that's lying to me. Like that's when it's bad. That's when you feel it's a violation.
Yeah.
And we're almost out of time. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's continue the conversation here, but
yeah. So I guess the question we can leave with you is, what would happen if you were always honest with yourself?
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one to think about, honestly.
Yeah. So think about that, and then we'll see you next time.